Trauma, memory, and the brain. Why we relive pain and how to stop it. When the past doesn't stay in the past, you're washing dishes. Her song plays in the background, one you haven't heard in years, and suddenly your stomach drops. Your heart races. Your mind flashes with a memory you thought you'd buried long ago. It's as if the past isn't back there anymore. It's right here, alive in your body. That's what trauma does. It doesn't just live in your memories. It lives in your nervous system. For many people, trauma isn't about what happened years ago. It's about what keeps replaying every day inside their brain. But here's the hopeful truth. Science has now shown that even these deepest imprints can be softened and rewritten. The same neuroplasticity that forms traumatic memories also gives us the power to transform them. The science of a wound that doesn't heal when something terrifying or overwhelming happens. Your brain's emergency systems take over. The amygdala, your brain's built-in alarm, floods your body with cortisol and adrenaline. It doesn't have time to analyze what's happening. It just shouts danger. Meanwhile, the hippocampus, the part responsible for sorting memories, becomes overwhelmed. It's supposed to take a frightening experience, label it as past, and store it safely away. But under intense stress, that system collapses. So instead of being filed as something that happened, the memory remains something that's happening. That's why people with trauma often describe flashbacks as reliving an event, not remembering it. Their brains have kept that file open for years. When the brain gets stuck in survival mode, think of trauma like a fire alarm that keeps ringing long after the smoke is gone. Even if you know you're safe, your brain's survival network hasn't gotten the memo. It still releases stress hormones, quickens your heart, and keeps you on alert, just in case. This is called chronic hypervigilance. It's exhausting. It's the reason so many people with trauma feel drained, anxious, or disconnected, even in calm environments. Over time, this state reshapes neural pathways. The amygdala becomes stronger. The prefrontal cortex, which helps with reasoning and emotional control, weakens. And the hippocampus, your memory center, shrinks under chronic stress. But here's where neuroplasticity changes everything. If the brain can be wired into trauma, it can be wired out of it. 2. How the brain learns to relive pain. Every thought, emotion, or physical reaction is part of a neural circuit, a pattern of electrical activity that fires across your brain's networks. When a traumatic memory is triggered, that same pattern lights up again. The amygdala sends alarm signals. As the body floods with stress chemicals, so the mind replays sensations and images. Each replay strengthens that circuit, like deepening grooves on a record. That's why trauma feels habitual. The brain has practiced it. It's not weakness, it's conditioning. But neuroplasticity means those grooves aren't permanent. New experiences, thoughts, and actions can carve fresh pathways, gently pulling energy away from the old ones. Healing, at its core, is teaching your brain a new rhythm. Memory. Without the pain, here's something profound. Neuroscientists have found that every time we recall a memory, it becomes malleable, briefly editable, before being stored again. This is called memory reconsolidation. It's the brain's way of updating old files. If during that small window, you experience safety, calm, or compassion while thinking of a painful event, your brain relinks that memory with new emotions. It doesn't delete what happened, but it changes the way it feels. That's how people move from "this memory owns me" to "this memory is part of me, but it no longer controls me." You've probably felt small moments of this before, when a painful song that once made you cry one day makes you smile instead. That's neuroplasticity in action, a reprogramming of the emotional circuits tied to that sound. Why talking alone isn't enough traditional. Talk therapy can help us understand our trauma, but knowledge alone doesn't always calm the body. That's because trauma is stored not just as thoughts, but as somatic memories, physical imprints in muscles, breath, and heartbeat patterns. Healing requires engaging the body and mind together. When we practice mindfulness, slow breathing, or movement-based therapy, we're teaching the nervous system to experience safety again. Each calm breath tells the amygdala, the danger has passed. Over time, that message gets wired into the body's automatic responses. The next time stress arises, the brain remembers calm instead of chaos. That's neuroplastic reconditioning, not abstract theory, but a physiological rewiring. Small moments that rewire everything. You don't need huge breakthroughs to heal. Neuroplasticity works best through repetition, small consistent experiences that signal safety and control. When you practice grounding yourself after a panic wave, your brain learns that calm is possible. When you reconnect with joy, art, or movement, you strengthen new neural pathways that lead to pleasure instead of pain. When you choose to reflect instead of react, your prefrontal cortex gains power again. Every gentle act of presence chips away at the old circuitry of fear. The beauty is that these changes are measurable. Brain scans of trauma survivors who engage in mindfulness or compassion practices show shrinkage in the overactive amygdala, growth in the prefrontal cortex, increased hippocampal volume, meaning better memory and emotion regulation. Your mind is not stuck. It's just waiting for repetition. Breaking the loop of triggers are not your enemy. They're messages from your brain asking for new input. Each time something reminds you of the past, and you consciously choose to respond differently, maybe by breathing deeply, grounding, or naming what you feel, you're editing that memory loop. Imagine if, for years, your brain paired a sound with fear. Now every time that sound plays and you consciously stay calm, the fear circuit weakens, and a new circuit forms, one that links the same sound to peace. Neurons that fire together wire together. But neurons that don't fire together, they gradually lose their bond. That's the essence of neuroplastic freedom. The body's role in reprogramming the mind. The body doesn't lie. It keeps score of everything the brain couldn't process. That's why trauma often shows up as tight shoulders, a clenched jaw, or a restless stomach long before it surfaces in words. Somatic approaches like breathwork, yoga, EMDR, and gentle movement all tap into the vagus nerve, the pathway connecting your brain to your body. When the vagus nerve is activated through calm breathing or physical grounding, it releases acetylcholine, a neurotransmitter that slows the heart and soothes the nervous system. It's the body's way of whispering to the brain, "You're safe now." You can rest. Over time, the repetition of that whisper becomes a new default. The survival system finally steps down. Forging new neural stories healing trauma doesn't mean erasing the past. It means telling it differently inside your own brain. The old story is, "I'm broken. I'll never feel normal again." The new story is, "Something painful happened, but I'm still here. My brain is changing every day." When you speak or think this way repeatedly, the brain's self-referential networks, especially the medial prefrontal cortex, begin to align with that belief. Self-compassion isn't a feeling. It's a neurological training ground. Every time you choose kindness over self-criticism, you're literally strengthening the wiring for resilience and hope. The power of present moment. Awareness mindfulness is one of the most researched tools in trauma recovery. It doesn't erase memories. It changes your relationship to them. When you observe a thought or flashback without being swept away, your prefrontal cortex and insula activate, areas linked to awareness and emotional balance. This awareness interrupts automatic reactions and builds new neural maps that favor calm observation over panic. Mindfulness isn't mystical, it's mechanical compassion. You're teaching your brain to stay in the now where safety lives. Why some memories fade naturally? The brain's main goal is efficiency. It strengthens pathways you use often and prunes those you neglect. So when you consistently redirect your attention from pain to peace through breath, reflection, or gratitude, the old trauma circuits begin to fade. This is called synaptic pruning and the brain's built-in editing system. It doesn't mean you forget. It means your brain finally learns that remembering doesn't have to hurt. The science of hope. What neuroscience has shown us is revolutionary. The adult brain retains plasticity throughout life. Even decades after trauma, it can form new connections, grow new neurons, and reshape entire emotional systems. Functional. MRI studies reveal that trauma survivors who engage in neuroplastic retraining practices experience structural changes within months, proof that healing isn't abstract hope, but measurable biology. You can change your brain at any age, in any circumstance. Practical neuroplastic healing steps. Gentle exposure. Gradually face reminders of your trauma in safe, Supported environments to teach your brain new emotional associations. Mind-body practices. Breathing, yoga, or grounding exercises calm the nervous system and regulate the vagus nerve. Compassionate self-talk. Replace automatic negative loops with affirmations that reflect safety and control. Creative expression. Music, art, or journaling engages both hemispheres of the brain, helping process emotion through movement and imagination. Connection. Relationships activate mirror neurons, teaching your brain safety through empathy and shared calm. Each small act compounds. Over time, your brain rewires from reaction to resilience, a mind that remembers. Differently, trauma may shape you, but it does not define you. Your brain is an organ built for learning, not just facts, but peace. It remembers danger so you can survive, but it can also remember safety so you can live. When we understand that trauma is not a life sentence but a neural pattern, we begin to reclaim our power. Healing is not forgetting, it's remembering differently. Every calm breath, every gentle thought, every act of self-care is a signal to your brain. The storm has passed. You're safe to grow now, and with that message repeated enough, new neural pathways form, strong, compassionate, and alive. Final thoughts. If you've ever wondered why you can't just move on, know this: your brain wasn't built to forget. It was built to protect. But protection isn't permanent. Through neuroplasticity, you can teach your mind a new way to be. You can learn to remember without reliving. You can hold the past without being held by it. If this resonated with you, subscribe to our channel for more science-backed stories about the mind. Healing and the power of neuroplasticity. Your brain can change. Your story can too.